Welcome to the Behind the Calls podcast presented by Make Good Grow. Each episode we'll hear from an inspiring leader from the third sector and unpick the highs and lows of running a good cause. Sit back, relax and enjoy. Right then, hello and welcome to the Make Good Grow Behind the Calls podcast. Great to have you here with us, Ryan, today.
Great to be here, thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us. What do you think of our lovely studio?
It's brilliant.
It's nice.
It's really good. I like the decor. Actually, the decor's really good, but it's nice to be in a professional studio show.
Because you guys do your own podcast, don't you?
We do, yes, we do. We ours is slightly different to this. So at the moment we're doing it via Zoom, but then we stream it out onto our Facebook page.
Yeah.
And then we take the audio from that, and it's all produced and then uploaded to the relevant podcast.
I'm feeling the pressure today because you're obviously experienced. We're quite new to the podcasting game, so you are experienced. But I should have said, obviously, Ryan, you are the founder and what is your title? Sorry, CEO, managing director of the Lily Mae Foundation. That's right, isn't it?
That's correct. Yeah.
Awesome. So to start us off with, why don't you tell us a bit about, tell us a bit about Lily Mae Foundation, your mission, kind of how you came to be, and that kind of thing. I'll just let you take it away.
Okay. The Lily Mae Foundation was set up in 2010 following the stillbirth of my wife and I's daughter, Lily Mae. My wife was 37 weeks pregnant, so it was obviously a huge shock to us, and whilst we'd heard of things, like miscarriage and what have you, stillbirth really wasn't on our radar, so it was a huge shock.
Yeah.
Primarily to start with, we wanted to just help and support other parents and families who were going to inevitably experience the same devastating type of loss that we had. We started raising money to start with for a national charity called SANS, but very quickly found that it was difficult to get the money that we were raising into the Midlands. We had to jump through a lot of red tape, and the sort of money was going into the big pots.
Yeah.
So we decided to gain charity status and have the Lily May Foundation gain charity status in October 2012.
Right.
Since then, we have grown exponentially from what started out to be something to just try and raise £10,000. We've now raised over, it must be £2.5 million really over the last 10 years or so. It serves a purpose, and whilst obviously we would rather not be doing it, and we would work ourselves out of a job, inevitably there are going to be bereavements of bereaved families who lose babies, whether that's through miscarriage, stillbirth, neonatal death, which is 4 weeks after birth, and also medical termination for if a pregnancy is not going as planned. And there's maybe congenital abnormality that unfortunately some parents have to make that devastating decision that they have to terminate the pregnancy for that reason. But primarily we're there for the support of those parents, and we provide memory boxes to all the hospitals within the Midlands, West Midlands area and Warwickshire. We do one-to-one support sessions, specialist bereavement support sessions, because ordinarily those people don't necessarily want counselling. They want to speak to somebody who understands the grief journey that they're going through, because whilst we expect to lose a grandparent, a parent, maybe even brothers and sisters, we don't expect to flip it on its head and have to bury our own children. So it's a service which is there really and supports a lot of people. 10 years, we're only really at the start of the journey, I suppose, to some extent. When you look at some of the big charities that are around, it's doing what it was designed to do, and is helping many hundreds and thousands of parents every year.
Yeah. So you're focused primarily in the kind of Midlands region, is it?
Yeah, so we sort of said right from the start really that we didn't want to be national, because we wanted to be within a sort of hour's journey of whoever needed the support. Reason being is because, again, we didn't want to dilute the services that we offered. We wanted to make sure that we could put a focus into a certain area and be so, transparent about where the money that was being donated to us was actually being spent. Like I say, we donated a lot of money to SANS, and whilst we know that money was, used as it should be properly, it was difficult to get that money put into, you know, the area in which we wanted it to be put.
Yeah.
And being from the Midlands ourselves, we felt very strongly that it needed to be kept in the Midlands, because the Midlands has got one of the highest rates of sort of stillbirth anyway, and what have you. So it was important for us to obviously keep everything localised and what have you.
Yeah. And this is your full-time life now?
It is now.
Running Lilly Mae Foundation.
Yeah, it is.
And that must be quite all-consuming, for the fact that you started it because you've been through something traumatic yourself, and now you're kind of in it every day. Like, how do you handle that as a family? And because you're both, you know, you and your partner are both in working within the foundation and stuff.
Yeah, so my wife and I were both teachers by trade. So my wife was a primary school teacher who then ventured out into being a teacher of the deaf.
Okay.
So she had caseloads of sort of kids from birth all the way up to about 18, and she worked for Birmingham City Council. I myself was a PE teacher, so I took the easy route. And, but I was also head of year as well, and I was also in pastoral lead with child protection and safeguarding. So we'd always had the sort of caring aspect, if you like, I suppose, that comes with teaching and wanting to work with children and what have you. But charity work is very, very hard work.
Yeah.
And trying to do that alongside a full-time job, as well as having other children as well. We'd already got Alfie, who was 3 when we lost Lily, and then we've been fortunate enough to go on and have another 3 children after as well. It was just unmanageable. You can't run a charity and work full time and run a family home, and, you know,
especially not be a teacher as well as doing all that other stuff.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I chose PE because you didn't have to do a lot of marking, but actually, in terms of the primary school, you're right. Amy had an awful lot of work to do, and it just became completely unmanageable. So it was either right, we knock it on the head and sort of say, right, we've done our bit. But the trustees of the charity said no. It would have been ridiculous.
Yeah.
So we trialled for a year with just Amy working, and she grew it quite rapidly. And then they asked me to then leave my teaching role and start full time, and that was 5 years ago now. So
wow.
It's
so you've been doing it full time for 5 years?
Full time for 5 years, yeah. Feels like 25 years, but yeah,
Does it?
I've been doing it for 5 years, yeah.
Yeah. And do you have the support in place for yourselves and the team that you're working with, in terms of, like, it's quite intense, isn't it? The stuff that you're delivering, the support that you're providing, and the conversations that you must be having. I mean, I've listened to your, you know, a Still Parents podcast, and, you know, there's quite deep, intense conversations, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think that's actually one of the most important things about maybe working for a charity, or just in general, is making sure that your own mental health and your own needs are met.
Yeah, it's massive, isn't it?
It's huge, absolutely huge, because, like you say, effectively we live in death every single day.
Yeah.
But I think what makes it that little bit easier for us, I suppose, to some extent, is the fact that actually what we do is our daughter. So we get up every morning, and it's not a struggle to go to work, because we know that we're doing it in memory of our daughter as well, and that she's left a legacy that's helping so many other people. We're fortunate that we have our own mentoring through Cruse Bereavement.
Right.
So they're a national counselling charity. And our one-to-one baby loss support service is underpinned by Cruse.
Right.
So we know we have our regular mentor meetings with them, where we can get things off our own chest.
Yeah.
But also myself and Amy just being honest with each other and speaking to each other anyway, and also our staff as well, who are all bereaved apart from one member of staff. We just have a really good camaraderie between us, where we're able to be open and actually talk to each other.
Yeah, I think that's really important. That was going to be my next question, is, like, what advice would you give to other small charities like yourself, who are dealing with firsthand with traumatic and, you know, life-changing experiences that they've probably gone through as well? They've set up their charity or their good cause like you have. How to advise them to make sure they are looking after themselves and having that well-being element to what they're doing.
I think it's just being open and being open to yourself. And I think sometimes people can get carried away because they can almost run before they walk.
Yeah.
So they try and do so much stuff because they've got so many good ideas, which is fantastic. But it's time and taking the time to actually do things properly.
Yeah.
Because actually you'll limit the amount of stress that you're under, the amount of anxieties that you're under if you do something properly rather than trying to do so many different things. And maybe putting a focus on, you know, one or two things at a time and being really open with yourself. And if you are struggling, being open and speaking.
Well, you're kind of in the thick of it in the sense you're working together, living together, dealing with your own trauma, all of that kind of on top of each other. But it sounds weird, like you were saying, you're 10 years old as a charity next year, and that's something that really to celebrate. But on the other hand, you said like we want to do ourselves up a job because we wouldn't have to provide the service if it wasn't a thing, and it's like a weird like thing, isn't it? To think about like, yes, celebrating that you've been going for 10 years, but actually
it's bittersweet, really. And I think I'll never forget our first accountant that worked for us doing our books on the first year, and we gave him a folder and there was literally a few bits of paper in there because it wasn't a busy year, shall we say. And he openly said to us, charities like yourselves tend to not last more than a year or a couple of years. And then he was gobsmacked that we're still where we are now. Because he didn't really understand the drive and the need to be able to provide something like what we do following the sort of circumstances and trauma that we've been through ourselves. And like I say, for us, this is Lily is living, but within this legacy and within the charity that she's having such a positive effect on so many other people.
And what an amazing legacy, like you say. It's just
absolutely.
You must be really proud that you've been able to go on to do that and to turn such a horrible situation into something so positive, to be there for so many of the families and stuff.
Absolutely.
How many families on average are you supporting, each year with the services that you're providing?
I think certainly over the last couple of years, it's increased for obvious reasons, and I'm not going to say the word, but for obvious reasons. We hand out approximately about 650 memory boxes a year throughout the hospitals. So I suppose if you were to work off an average of, let's say, 2 adults, 2 children in a family, plus then you've got grandparents, the wider family, friends.
It's the whole network, isn't it?
It's thousands of people. And whilst you might not have direct contact with people, I think the indirect contact that you have through social media, through our podcast, through doing things like this, if somebody hears, it's immediately a support mechanism. It's a lot of people.
And can people refer themselves to you for help if they're going through something, or they're just they can call out to you directly, can they, or does it need to be a referral from a hospital? Or
no. So we have a self-referral process. So our baby loss support service referral is self-referral. One thing that we sort of pride ourselves on is that we only have about a 3 to 4 week wait. Whereas if you were to sort of be referred from a GP or something to normal counselling services, whether that be sort of like an IAPT or something through the National Health Service, it can be anything from sort of 6 to 18 months in terms of time to wait. So like we say, it's a self-referral process, and then we then individual clients. We don't do group work as such. We don't do couples. It's all individual. It's through either myself, so I tend to see a lot of the males. And Amy and Chantella are our other baby loss support workers as well. So we tend to offer it to start with 3 sessions, and then we do sort of evaluation with our clients, and then if they needed more, they need more. If they don't, they don't. And it's what we try and do is almost like a process where we go from 1-to-1 to then into the sort of group support, where we do our group sessions monthly. And then what we tend to find is a lot of the parents who we have supported tend to then do things themselves through the charity and fundraisers and all that sort of stuff. So it's a sort of evolving relationship, really.
And we said we're not going to dwell on the COVID word, but obviously that, from an organisation, from a management, from a leadership perspective, the last 18 months or so, massive challenges. And I think for a number of charities like yourselves, there's probably been a weird sense of it was an opportunity, that there's a growth, there's more funding potentially available, but also more need and more of a drain on resources. So how, as an organisation, did you step up and handle that? Did you have to pivot your service delivery? Tell us a bit how you cope with the last 18 months.
Yeah, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't worried when it first happened, when, you know, first lockdowns and so forth came in. We were worried, but I think one thing that we've done very well as a charity was we put 12 months worth of running costs into a completely separate account.
Right, okay.
Which we always knew, not expecting a pandemic to happen, but if ever fundraising, you know, dried up or something, that we have something to fall back on to be able to keep, you know, the charity moving. We had to be innovative with a lot of the services that we were offering. Obviously, all our sort of group sessions had to cease or be postponed because of not being able to meet in crowds.
Yeah.
We were able to do our one-to-one support service because it fell under the mental health services. So instead of sitting one-to-one in a room, we'd go out for socially distanced walks. So we're quite fortunate where our offices are. We've got a lot of countryside. So we take people for, you know, an hour's walk and do our one-to-one sessions like that. That, I think, helped a lot of people. Probably more so than actually sitting in a room.
Yeah.
And even now, I still tend to go for walks with the gents that I see because it's fresh air, bit of exercise at the same time. So you incorporate lots of different things, really.
And there's also that thing, isn't there, about like if you're not sat face to face in front of someone, you'll feel a bit more relaxed, and it kind of, you know, the barrier's broken down straight away. I know from like a parenting technique as an adopter, we were always said like you probably get the best engagement conversations with your child when they're sat in the back seat and you're in the front seat driving, because there isn't that kind of eye contact is there. So
no, and I think as well, probably our teaching backgrounds helped us in that respect as well, because you're specialist practitioners to speak to people in certain ways, and whilst it's obviously children, there are, you know, transferable skills as well. And I think certainly the sort of the walks helped massively because people didn't feel that they were isolated like a lot of people did during the pandemic.
Yeah.
So we were able, like I say, to still, you know, hold those one-to-one sessions, albeit that we were out in the open and what have you. But also the other thing, the roads were quiet. It was just quiet, so it was a little bit more peaceful at the same time as well. So. Yeah, and then in terms of fundraising was obviously very difficult because we lost all of our fundraising events. So we were very reliant upon grants, and we were fortunate we got a grant from the government from the money that they set aside for charities. And we were also fortunate that we were successful with other grant organisations such as like, you know, Heart of England, Community Foundation and various others. We had a grant from Mind as well. National Lottery. So we were in a good place, shall we say. And I know that sounds odd to say in a pandemic, but actually as a smaller organisation, I think we benefited to some extent, because I think grant organisations wanted to make sure that the smaller organisations that were effectively the boots on the ground, if you like, were able to continue following, you know, the pandemic.
Well, ensuring the continuity of service delivery for an organisation like yours is, you know, paramount in that situation, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Like, to be able to still have some kind of contact for families going through something so difficult when they can't go and hug their parents or, you know, go and have that support that they would have got from their immediate family in a normal situation must have been massive.
Yeah, huge. Yeah, definitely.
Because life didn't stop, did it? People still, you know, getting pregnant and having
there was a huge increase in sort of social media support. So we had a lot of messaging that was coming through social media, telephone support as well. So that was another thing we started doing, was doing telephone one-to-ones as well. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I think it was comforting for people to know, obviously, that there was a support mechanism there for them. And that they weren't just being cut off, because obviously things changed at hospitals where, you know, partners and so forth weren't allowed in hospitals, or they weren't staying in hospitals for as long as they ordinarily would have. They were out the door as quick as possible. And
I heard on one of your podcast episodes a guy talking about how, you know, when his wife was taken in and he wasn't allowed to go in and he had to wait at home and all of that kind of stuff. You can't imagine like the stress, the added stress that would add, that you can't just be together during this time when it's, you know,
absolutely,
the worst day of your life kind of thing.
And there was another one as well where he was sat in the car, and he saw the midwife, I think it was, or the doctor come out, and I think he said he knew straight away that it wasn't good news. And I mean, what a way to be told that your child has died in a car park. It's inhumane.
It's horrendous,
isn't it? And unfortunately, that was happening, and it was up to organisations like ourselves then, and there are obviously other baby loss support organisations out there as well that are doing not one-to-one support as such, but group support. It's up to us then to pick up the pieces, and it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, exactly. So moving on from there, then you talked about kind of your fundraising and how it was affected and what have you. What is, in a normal year, what are your main kind of opportunities for fundraising? Because as a small organisation, like you said, you're not fighting against bigger national charities and stuff, but you need to make sure you're getting your share of the fundraising pound, don't you? So what do you focus on as an organisation? So
we do 2 big events throughout the year. So we would do one in April, which is a golf day and evening dinner dance.
Right.
We hold that at the Belfry.
Yeah.
So we've done that there for the last 7 years now. That was obviously hit during the pandemic, and we were able to do it again this year, and that brings us in a huge sum of money, really.
Yeah.
And then we also organise the Balsall Common Fun Run, which attracts up to about 1,000 runners.
Yeah.
This year again was slightly different because we link in with Warwickshire Road Race League and also Balsall Common Run Club. So Balsall Common Run Club use it as their league race, if you like.
Yeah.
And because the Warwickshire Road Race League wasn't running, and also Leamington Half Marathon was on the same day because everyone was trying to get their runs in, numbers were down slightly, but it was more about the continuity of doing the event, so people knew we were keeping it in the calendar. So they're the sort of 2 big events we do, and then we do lots of little things sort of throughout the year. I mean, I use this term loosely. We are fortunate to an extent that all of the parents that we support tend to do their own little bits of fundraising as well.
Yeah.
So we take people to do skydives. So people who want to do a skydive, I mean, we advertise it as a sort of push your boss out of the plane sort of thing. So if you ever fancy that,
I'm looking at a colleague over there like, don't get any ideas.
So yeah, we do. We take probably about 70 people a year.
Wow.
To do skydives. We use a place down in Banbury called Hinton.
Centre
to do that. So we do that. We also do lots of other things, bucket collections. The normal things really.
How many times have you been pushed out of the plane?
Once.
Yeah. Is that enough?
Yeah. Although I would do it again. We did a campaign in 2020 actually, which was spoilt by the pandemic, which was called 10-10-10. So it was 10 bereaved men doing 10 challenging events over 10 days throughout the year. So we started off on Lily's birthday, which was her 10th birthday, and we did a 12-hour night walk where we covered 34 miles overnight. And then we had other things like the National Three Peaks, which we managed to do. We did the zip wire in Wales and all sort of things that were going to challenge us, and one of them was the skydiving. I think if you asked the other 9 men along with myself, which was probably the most nerve-wracking one, I think they would all say the skydive. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's a really nice challenge as well. We did in the charity I was working for, we did a 50-50-50 challenge, which was 50 people walking 50 kilometres and trying to raise 50,000 for our 50th anniversary.
Oh, brilliant!
So that was going to be one of my questions. Like in terms of advice for other charities who are thinking about setting up fundraising initiatives, I know firsthand how bloody hard it is to set up a big kind of multi-participation event, and you're doing a fun run on a yearly basis with 1,000 people, did you say, running?
Yeah, up to 1,000.
Yeah, so would you recommend it to other organisations to set up something like that?
What, a fun run?
Well, any kind of large scale participation event.
You just got to be patient.
Yeah.
I think I'm a bit of a perfectionist. I am, so I have to have things in place, and I'm that sort of person, and I'd be lying if I said it wasn't tough to be able to organise it, and you get to certain times of the year where it gets extremely stressful. But I think once you get the first one out of the way and you almost learn a method of being able to deliver something, it gets a little bit easier over time.
Yeah.
In terms of the sort of, putting events on and things like that, one thing that I've had to learn very quickly is that you can't please everybody. And in the charity world, it's very much like that. You can't please everybody because, it's impossible to do it. Being a PE teacher or a trained PE teacher, I know I haven't taught PE for a while, but you used to find that it was the organisational skills that were very good because you're controlling 30 manic kids running around a field with a rugby ball.
Yeah.
It was easy to be able to do that type of work. So in that respect, I'm good that it's good. Sorry, that I've got a very good team behind me.
Yeah.
Who help with the events. So it's not just me; it's other people.
And I'm picking up on a theme as well, which I think is really important when you're running a charity and the size that you are and the aspirations of the output that you're trying to do. You've talked a lot about the partnerships that you have. So, partnership with the Baltic Common Running Club and the league and that kind of thing. And I think on your website, there's a thing about the partners that you work with or something, isn't there, as well? So, what would you say about that? Like for aspiring new charity or someone that, a charity that maybe are struggling with getting the throughput that they want to get, like how to build strong relationships and utilise those in the best way?
I think where people go wrong is they always want. And I think you have to understand that it's a mutual relationship.
Yeah. And
usually the first thing I always say to people is, well, you're going to give me this, what can I do for you?
Yeah.
Because whilst people are kind and, we get a lot of monetary support from various companies and things like that, for us, we can't put the events on without those supporters that we have. So we like to give back as much as we possibly can as well. And I think that's the thing with charity. A lot of people think that it is all take, or, I want this, I want that, I want this. There is a mutual sort of relationship between the giver and the receiver, if you like.
Yeah, definitely.
And it needs to, that should effectively be at the forefront of somebody's mind if they are, going out to get a corporate sponsor or, like we've approached you guys with regard to the podcast. And for me, I've got it going through my mind that, well, we'll just advertise you because that's the right thing to do.
Well, it's a community, isn't it? That's what it's all about. It's a give and take, like you said. And that was going to be one of my next questions. Obviously, you're here on the Make Good Grow podcast, and we've only just kind of become associated with you guys, haven't we? So your colleague got in touch with us and kind of asked if you could use the podcast studio. And we've got something we're introducing in the new year actually is kind of corporate pledges, so the Make Good Grow pledge, and where we're going to go out and ask other corporate partners, like, what would be your pledge? How would you support good causes in the community? And then we're going to help them to bring their pledge to life. And so our Make Good Grow pledge, we are here at Mill Street, and our part of our pledge is not only do we provide a volunteering platform where we're recruiting skilled professionals to come and volunteer their time and give their skills to a good cause freely. That's a two-way relationship. It's about a communication and a give and take. But also, the facilities that we have here at Mill Street, we're here today in this fully equipped, lovely podcast studio, and any good cause, so I'm putting it out there, like shout out, any good cause can come and use this facility for free. We don't charge anyone to come and, record a podcast here. Similarly, we've got meeting rooms that people can use. So we said, didn't we, if you've got a trustee meeting you want to host, then, you can come here and use our space for free as well. And that's part of our pledge. And that's because we are, here to try and support charities and good causes to make their good grow. Like, that's the whole reason why we exist.
And one thing I would say is definitely take you up on that offer, because the facilities are, they're amazing. Absolutely amazing. I've already got plans.
Good.
Got plans to get moving on into.
Well, we're saying about your 10th anniversary next year and stuff, didn't we, as well? So hopefully we can definitely collaborate on things like that as well. So.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Okay, so we've talked a lot about. Obviously, you told us about how you came to be in the position you're in now, and it kind of all was led from your own personal experience and the trauma and kind of your family's kind of situation, and you've gone on to do this amazing thing like supporting so many other families and what have you. What would you say at the moment though is your biggest challenge as an organisation moving forward? You're coming out of the pandemic, you're thinking about the future, you're hitting your 10 years, what's the biggest challenge at the moment?
I suppose our biggest challenge is because of our background, we're not business people, we're not business savvy, and I think, or I say we're not business savvy, we're learning to be business savvy, and we're taking direction from lots of external people to help us with that. So I suppose our biggest challenge to some extent is in regard to the moving forward is growing the charity. Mm-hmm. We're in a position by where the demand is so high, and we don't want to be able to not provide that support. Therefore, actually growing the charity and understanding how to grow the charity, but not overdoing ourselves, or sort of overstepping ourselves and what have you, is certainly a very big challenge. But one that we'll embrace. We've embraced challenge right from the start. We had to go for a challenge when we lost Lily, and you sort of think, okay, we're 10 years down the line, and I think every single day is a challenge for us because there's always something new. It's it's a cliche, I suppose, but every day is a school day.
Yeah,
it is. You learn something new every day, and it might not be good, it might not be the right thing, but actually if it's not the right thing, then at least you've learned something and you know not to do it again. And I think that's the challenge, is just to be innovative in what we do and how we approach things in such a fast moving world. Really, it's
exactly.
There's so much happening. It's about sort of keeping up with what other organisations are doing as well, and also at the same time trying to be one step ahead of others.
Awesome. What would you say, either yourself personally or as an organisation, is your proudest achievement in the 10 years that you've been doing what you've been doing?
Helping other parents, helping other bereaved parents and their families is our proudest achievement, because I could sit there and say, oh, well, we brought in X amount of money, we brought in this, we brought in that, but ultimately it's not about that. It's about the support that we offer to the parents. And it's not just me in terms of an individual achievement, it's the whole team together. It's an achievement that we've all achieved, but between us all, and that would certainly be our biggest achievement, is just the amount of people that we've helped, whether it be directly or indirectly as well.
Good, excellent. So I forgot to say at the start, but before every podcast episode, we send out a list of questions, and the first question we send out is what would be on your rider if you were a pop star?
Yeah.
Now I want to extend that. If you're a pop star, who would you be like, or who would you be if you could be a pop star?
Who would I be?
Yeah.
You caught me out there because I hadn't thought of that.
I know, I thought I'd get you on the spot.
Oh, blimey. Oh, dear me. What's Lewis Capaldi?
Okay, good one.
Probably because
of the banter.
I like a bit of banter. I do like to have a bit of a joke and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And having a sporting background, you have the sort of camaraderie of team sports and stuff.
Yeah.
So I do like his personality.
And for those that are watching this on Mega Grow's YouTube channel, they'll see some random stuff on the desk. But you did answer the question, what would be on your rider? Now, I thought it was a bit cheeky because you said a slab of Peroni. And I had to ask someone in the office, I was like, what is a slab of Peroni? So I didn't stretch to a slab of Peroni, but you've got a bottle of Peroni there.
Thank you.
To take away, a nice little refreshing drink this afternoon. It was chilled, but I think now probably not so much. The other thing you said was a curry. I think you said like lots of different curries and lots of different things to dip in it or something.
I said like a finger buffet.
That was it, yeah. I didn't stretch to that much because budgets
fine.
and stuff. But we have got you some samosas and a lovely like dal curry there for your afternoon snack. So you can take that away with you.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. The other thing on your rider was something you should have really bought with you, which was a collection tin.
I should have.
Lily
I wasn't
May
aware
Foundation.
that you were going to be doing all of this.
Well, we like to throw it on you. Nice surprise. So I think, it's been so good to talk with you. So thank you very much for giving us your time and being really honest and open. Obviously, it's really inspirational for us at Make Good Grow to hear from good causes directly like yourselves, but also hopefully sharing your knowledge, your experience and that kind of thing. Like I said, we're a community, like we're all out here trying to make a bit of a difference in someone's lives, aren't we? And,
we are, absolutely.
Thank you for your candid responses to the questions. I hope it hasn't been
too
much of an ordeal.
Thank you for having me on. It's been a pleasure, and I like doing this sort of stuff as well, because like you say, it's the relationship amongst others within our sector, and if somebody just learns something, then I've done my job.
Exactly. And obviously you're going to be back in here recording your own podcast soon enough.
Yeah.
So if people want to find out more about Lilly May Foundation or listen to Still Parents podcast, like what do they need to do?
Just go to Google, type in Still Parents Podcast. It comes up on all the various podcast networks. And also Lily Mae Foundation is lilymayfoundation.org. And that's to our website, and then you can link through to our social media pages, Facebook, Insta, Twitter,
amazing,
LinkedIn. So.
And is there any campaigns or fundraising initiatives at the moment that you're working on that you need support with, that you want people to kind of get involved with, or register for the run next year?
Yeah, we're always looking for volunteers. Was put a volunteer register together, so it's it might be that somebody's not available for certain things. So just to get in touch with us if you'd like to donate a few hours or whatever it may be to shake a bucket or help at an event or, you know, something, then please do get in touch and we'll...
Can you do a push the colleagues out of the plane next year as well, please?
You're going to jump out of the plane, aren't you?
I don't know about that. I ran the virtual London Marathon this year. That was an effort in itself. So
well done, because that's something I couldn't do.
I couldn't really do it either. I finished it just about like crawling over the line, but because it was virtual as well, like there's no crowds around you, there's no one like cheering you on. So I can
imagine that's a lot harder.
Yeah, and running your own route. So I was like making it up in my head where I was going to run for like 5 hours.
5 hours worth of running.
I was really lucky. Some friends and my family and stuff came out at certain points along the route. So you know, so I said like, be here at a certain time, and even you know, the boss from Mill Street and stuff, he came and stood outside Mill Street at a certain time, so I ran past the building here and things. So good fun.
Well done.
Don't know if I'm rushing to do it again, but I might do the fun run. That sounds like
go.
Is it 5k?
5 or 10.
Okay, I can manage either of those. I'll do that. That's good.
Brilliant.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. For more information about Make Good Grow or any of the good causes that we featured on the Behind the Cause podcast series, visit makegoodgrow.com/podcast.